to the Shira Magazine. My name is Miriam Pancheva, and I will be hosting the podcast here at Shira Magazine. And this is the first copy of our Shira Magazine. Ta-da! Very exciting. It's a beautiful printed copy, and entirely free, which is amazing. We've made it completely accessible to everyone, and it's very important to us here at Shira Magazine that we can do that. The last thing I really want you to do is to subscribe so you can get your own real physical copy. It's not just an e-magazine, although we will be posting some of the content on our social media pages, across Instagram and our website. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Shira Magazine podcast. Today we have the amazing Flor Kent. She is with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be part of the Shira project. Sounds amazing.
We are so excited to have you here.
And I've mutually
also known Flora for quite a while. She's probably known me for longer.
For a lifetime.
Exactly. So for me it's really special as well to have you here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Want to start by introducing you to everyone. So how would you introduce yourself in the artistic world?
Well, I'm a sculptress. I'm an artist, but sculpture comes more naturally than everything else. So I oftentimes call myself a sculptress rather than an artist.
Yeah. So in your sculpture work, do you work more with natural landforms, or do you prefer to work with synthetic materials? What kind of processes involve in your artwork?
So it has been an evolution from, I guess, drawing, 2-dimension, into 3-dimensional, and then within the 3-dimensional, which is actually sculpture, it has grown into different materials, and sometimes no materials, sometimes it's ideas, but eventually I moved on into what is called site-specific sculpture, which are pieces made for a certain location. And these pieces wouldn't make sense in any other place because they are linked to the site, either because of the physical condition, the history of the building, for many different reasons. That piece makes sense there. And so for the last, I would say 20 years, I have been doing a lot of what is called site-specific sculpture, which is more public art.
Public showcase art.
Yes.
So where is the location that you've most connected to when you've made a piece like that?
Well, I will say Liverpool Street Station. I have had works in different places.
Around the world?
Yes, in few cities, and because I'm also, like many people in the UK, an international person. I come from South America, lived in the States, and so on and so forth. So I do have works in many places, but yes, the most meaningful to me is Liverpool Street Station, because it was now it's very well known, the site and the history, but it wasn't at the time when I embarked in this project.
Of course, yeah.
And I did it in conjunction with the University of the Arts at the time. We are talking 1998.
UAL?
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
So it was academical, and it was also artistic. It had everything, and it had the people who now, of course, they are quite old. And
you've started the ball rolling then.
Yeah, and it was historical. It was all embracing, and it will always be very close to my heart. And also, it had babies. So from this piece, it went to other cities and in Europe and so on. But yeah, it's Liverpool Street Station. It's in my website, and it's on the. If anybody wants to see it, it's in Liverpool Street Station under the meeting point where the tube opens up in the concourse of the station, in the heart of the station.
Amazing. So we'll be able to children. We'll definitely share that link with everyone so they can actually click on it and see the art itself. But that's amazing.
Yeah.
What a great story.
Yes.
So you mentioned UAL, University of the Arts.
Yes.
Do you actually work with them closely still? Or?
No, I did a master's in site-specific sculpture.
Amazing.
And I'm still linked to this as an alumni.
Of course, yeah.
But no, I'm not actively involved. But it was a great place and very inspiring too.
I'm sure it was, yeah. That's amazing. So the sculpture that you made in Liverpool Street that was so incredible, and it's affected, I'm sure, so many people just even walking past it.
Yeah.
It's amazing to have it so central.
Yes.
What does that directly link to?
So that is directly linked to the Kindertransport, which was an organically evolving project to save the children from a certain death. We are going back to 1938, and there are several heroes. Most people know Nicholas Winton, but there were several heroes. Sometimes they unfortunately get forgotten, but all in all, 650 children were saved from a certain death, and they survived, they thrived, and there are now over 5,000 children, grandchildren and descendants.
How amazing. And you've created this sculpture that commemorates all of that.
So there are many people who were involved. Some are more known and some are unsung heroes.
Yeah.
But it was a joint effort, not only of the people who actually brought the children, but the parents who let them go, the people from all walks of life that embraced these kids, opened their homes, Jewish and non-Jewish, churches, all walks of life were involved. They were very moved because that was a very dire time, and they knew that if they didn't help, there was no future. So that was not just the process of the art, but at the time it served also to collect the stories, to save them, because many people never spoke about these
so
events.
In a way it's kind of like preserving a moment in history.
Totally. And most of these people have perished by now, because they would be in their 90s and so on.
Yeah.
Luckily enough, one of the heroes, Sir Nicholas Winton, lived up to 106.
Wow.
And he was quite lucid, so he still had that treasure. But as people were dying, at least now, this is a very well-known story, and it's very much beyond people's politics today. There is a soft spot in the British heart for this particular story. There is a similar one, which is in Prague.
Also made by you?
Yeah, in Prague's Central Station, which is where Sir Nicholas was the savior. Not only him and a group of people were particularly involved with the children of Czechoslovakia. Actually, now is the Czech Republic and Slovakia. So there he particularly is a huge hero. It's incredible, more than the UK. But it just shows that affection.
It's like the significance behind it as well.
Yeah. So, yes.
Yeah. The sculpture you made in Liverpool Street, I'm wondering how much that influenced the sculpture that you then made in Prague. Right. And what was the timeline between the two?
Yes. So, the project for Liverpool Street started in 1998, and the one in Prague, if I'm not wrong, came to fruition, or even the commission, because it was commissioned from the Ministry of Transport of the Czech Republic. Maybe 12 years or 14 years in between.
Wow.
Something like that. I think it was 2011, if I'm not wrong, thereabouts.
So those, roughly the 12 years, they have really created a springboard from the original idea in 1998, or when it was publicly displayed.
Because this grew momentum, this whole issue of the Kindertransport, and everybody loves good stories. And this was a lovely story in the country and so on. And eventually, there was a steam train replicating the passage of these children from the Czech Republic to Liverpool Street, now with this kinder being quite in their 70s and 80s. and it was organized by the BBC. It was closely followed with television. It was incredible, and that was a joint effort, UK and Czech Republic.
Wow.
So then they wanted to leave a permanent sculpture in Central Station, which I heard last time that it was going to be renamed Nicholas Winton, the main station. I don't know if that is happening. So yes, it's an offshoot, definitely.
Amazing.
So there is Sir Nicholas as a 28-year-old carrying the child, as many people could find him in the iconic image on the website.
Yeah.
And so that's a sculpture as the children are living. And the one here in Liverpool Street now goes to the great-grandchildren of the kinder. There is a boy, Sam, who is one of 50 great-grandchildren of a lady who arrived.
That's such a blessing. That's amazing.
And there is a girl also, Naomi, whose grandmother and her sisters, there were 3 sisters, who arrived at Liverpool Street. These are the grandmother and her great aunts, who were the only children who survived from a whole town in the Czech Republic. They come from a town, the only Jews and the only children of all the community. So that girl is in Liverpool Street. She's a great-grandchild.
Wow.
So there is kind of going back in time when Sir Nicholas was 28 and here 80 or maybe 60 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is really amazing, Flor. You've created something that's so special, and it's in public display.
Yes.
And you don't have to pay to see it.
No.
You can see it literally as you are just on your daily basis.
And
daily life.
it's I always get stories. People send stories or photos. I'm here and strangers.
How does it make you feel to see that kind of communication between people that you know and maybe people you don't know?
Yes.
Sending you maybe a photo of the sculpture saying, "Oh, look, Flor, I've just seen your sculpture. It's incredible in real life." I don't know how I would feel if I...
Well, I tell you, honestly, it's not because I did it. It just gives me pleasure that it's spreading, because we need good stories, we need inspiration. The world sometimes gets darker and this danger is always there, and it makes me feel that every minute I spend, and I spent tears too, nothing came without problems. I could write books about all the ups and downs, but it makes it so worth it. Because it's forever. That is not going to be moved.
It's grounded.
Moved.
It's
a
piece of history that's grounded.
Not even a tractor can move that piece from the concourse.
Amazing.
Yes, and people ask. Sometimes I go there for randomly, or sometimes I go for something, and I always see people doing something, leaving a flower or a poppy. There is something always very human in human interaction with a piece of metal and piece of Portland stone.
Would you say that the sculpture materials and the sculpture itself and that type of art is a way to break down the barriers between any kind of world conflict that's happening at any point in history in general, and it's a way to access actual human emotion rather than relating it to a specific group of people or something like that, but also to bring out your Jewish identity as a Jewish woman?
Definitely. And because
something so
material becomes very spiritual somehow, or very emotional. It's a transformative reaction from something very hard and cold. Yeah, definitely.
And it touches hearts, literally, just because of what it is, the matter that it's made from is, and also your hands that it was sculpted with, which is just incredible. So that was a sculpture that I remember being part of.
Yes,
that was yours.
That brings a twist to this interview, because you're asking me, and I'm telling you, but I want to share with Shira's viewers that actually we go back a long way as well with one sculpture that came somehow it's an offspring somehow of the Kindertransport, because I think that inspired partly the creation of one in Romania, although they had an idea to put a sculpture. But I think somehow the fact that there was this sculpture celebrating living and saving came into contrast with another one in Romania, in Oradea, which was a town that belonged to the Austro-Hungarian. At different points in history, it belonged to different countries. But in Oradea, unfortunately, the children died. Around 1,500 children were killed, taken to the concentration camps from that station. And so here is where my interviewer comes, because I thought that would be very meaningful to use the diary of one girl, Eva Hyman. I wanted to use one child rather than have hundreds of children that are shapeless. I thought maybe it was meaningful to actually use a real story, like with the Kindertransport, which was all based on facts. And Eva Hyman wrote a diary which is equally good and high standard and witty and incredible as the Anna Frank one, only that it did not become famous like Anna Frank. But the diary is unbelievable. And unfortunately, she was killed. She was 14. I needed a model. And I had my... I'm friends with her parents, and she...
at the time,
Miriam was perfect. And so she was my model for my sculpture. And it was a
when I
incredible.
heard, that Flora would be needing a model for her sculpture, I thought, yes, I'll model, what do you want me to wear? And she went, no.
So
you're not going to be wearing anything. You need to be the sculpture. So I just thought, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What on earth does that mean?
And it was a very painful process.
It was a very painful, long, slow process.
Yes. Some pieces are remembered by the model, saying how awful was the artist, made me suffer. And here we are. I had poor Miriam. She was 12.
I was 12 at the time, yeah.
But she was a great model, and that was very emotional, the one in Romania. It's called Eva Hyman. It's in Oradea, and you can find also online information about her book and the whole organization in Oradea trying to preserve the history, the Jewish history that mostly disappeared, unlike the one with the Kindertransport that is living.
And it would be amazing to give a little bit of insight into how you worked on that sculpture, obviously after our session.
Well, I practically used almost her body. She was a bit smaller than the 14-year-old, and obviously the face. But somehow you were so perfect for it.
Oh.
And I obviously.
But I remember you covered me in what was it, like wax first, and then the mud rock that we used, or clay?
Plaster.
So the plaster.
Miriam didn't know what she was getting into.
No.
She was getting tired.
But I stuck it through.
It's good memories.
It was amazing because I can now say that I'm in a sculpture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's one
forever in Romania.
Exactly. Not too far from my home country. And it's amazing to be able to say that I'm kind of part of recreating the history, and also bringing out the story of Eva Hyman, which is so important to remember, Jewish history. And obviously she was a young girl who also wrote a diary, just like Anne Frank, and it's so important that we can share that with everyone.
So with this sculpture, obviously it was about all the children who died, but the fact that this girl wrote a diary, that she recorded what happened to her, she was very gifted, I must say, very intelligent, luckily enough. The book on its own, it's a treasure. regardless of the subject, because that girl was unique. But nonetheless, it was an inspiration for people to write, and even the readers of Shira. I strongly advise our moms to encourage the children. They don't need to write diaries. Not everybody, is something not many people do, and they don't need to do. But inquiring about the roots, who are the grandparents, asking as many questions, because our grandparents won't last forever. There were things that we would want. There are so many things I wish I asked, and I used to ask a lot, and I did. Personally, I recorded so much history from all my 100 relatives.
Yeah.
I'm archivist since I was very young, and I wish I asked more. So I'm encouraging parents, schools to tell children, or magazines. Everybody should write their roots all over the world, because these things are getting lost, and it's so important.
Well, Flor, I just want to say a massive thank you.
My pleasure.
You have been
I'm very happy, really.
Incredible. Honestly, every single word, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
And I just don't know what to say. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in and for joining our podcast.
Thank you.
And we are so excited to share more of those links with you all, so that you can see Flor's art. It's honestly incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you.